Sounds great. Donna, let's talk a little bit about DeKalb.
Okay, let's talk about DeKalb.
What's happening?
Well, just to sort of piggyback on what George said, I think one of the things that's so amazing about Community Services Block Grant is that it allows us to take federal dollars and to use it in our individual communities in a way that works for our individual communities. A few months ago, I actually went up to Rockford to see these amazing community gardens that they have in Rockford, and was able to take some of those ideas and bring it back to DeKalb, obviously a very different community than Rockford, and to be able to use some of the dollars that we receive to implement some programs that will work for our community. Some of the very same kinds of things, be able to provide some fresh fruits and vegetables to, we're starting with our schools, the DeKalb schools. All the elementary schools in DeKalb will have a community garden there so that we can introduce a lot of really fresh fruits and vegetables to the children and the staff there. And any excess will then go to our food pantries as well. So that's one of the amazing things about CSBG, is that we really can take those federal dollars and mold them into something that's going to best benefit each of our communities and the low-income families that live there.
How would the loss of those dollars impact your agency?
For me specifically, we're one of the smallest community action agencies in Illinois. It would be devastating. Any dollar that will be lost through CSBG will impact the number of staff that we would be able to have. We only have 4 staff in my community action agency, and the biggest impact would be that the core of our programs are, we have a family economic development program and a family stability and support program. And we do holistic and comprehensive case management with families to help them to address any barriers that they have within the community for the Family Economic Development Program, for increasing income through employment, whether they're underemployed, unemployed, or if they're looking to sort of advance themselves going forward. Those take a lot of hours to be able to do the kinds of case management that we are doing, where basically if it's not unethical or we're not hurting somebody, our case managers are helping our families to do that. We found that it was less effective than it could be for us to just give a family some referrals and say, you know, here's some referrals, go out and make it work. We're really about providing that support and that cheerleading for our families as they're working in some really tough times to try to improve their family stability going forward.
So when you talk about case management, is that hands-on, up close and personal, or just how does that work?
Hands close, up close, personal. Case management's a little bit of a misnomer. It's really, we're not managing anybody. We're just really supporting and helping families going forward, giving them the information that they need to make decisions that are best for their families. You know, helping them to become more stable as they move forward. Some families that have had some stability and because of the economic times are really struggling. Some families that generationally haven't really known household stability. So a lot of exciting stuff that we're doing, seeing folks succeed.
Being members of the statewide association, how does that help make your voice and make your concerns known?
It's very important to be connected with a network of support, because the challenges of community action organizations and low-income communities are really similar everywhere. And the fact is that none of us have enough resources or know-how or access to information by ourselves without reaching out, you know. And having that network of experience, that network of other ideas, that network of support where you can call on another organization. One of the things that our Community Action Association does for us, for example, is it helps us to maintain high quality by doing peer-to-peer assessments, so that they can organize a team of peers that can come in and take a look at our programs administratively, fiscally, or programmatically, and say, here's some things you could do to improve. Here's some things that you could do to make sure that you are maintaining high standards and high quality in the program. And that's a voluntary effort that community action agencies do for each other. We also can pool our information around the kind of people we're serving and the needs that we're seeing, and help to be better at informing our elected officials about the impact of poverty in our communities and what our role is and what they can do to make sure that those services are maintained. And there's nothing, like having that network to be able to accomplish those things at a level that you couldn't do by yourself. It helps to answer the question, it helps us address the question, what is it that we can do better together that we couldn't do by ourselves,
Gotcha. At this meeting, was there any kind of common concerns that seemed to crop up during the meeting?
I think we're all concerned about what's going to happen with the 2012 federal budget and how that's potentially could impact what's already a pretty fragile system of support throughout the country for low-income residents. And we see things like the fact that the weatherization program potentially is facing a 50% reduction in funding between this year and what we will look at next year, the way that it's looking right now, because of the stimulus dollars working their way through the system. We're seeing the fact that CSBG did receive a 3.2% cut already in 2011 and could face further cuts in 2012, which is the sort of the core piece of the Community Action Agency. We're seeing uncertainties about what's going to happen with other programs and services that we depend on for the many of the families that we assist. So those are things that just have us concerned in terms of making sure that our communities are staying at least at some point being able to sustain themselves, let alone to move forward, and we believe that there's still a need to invest more in addressing the opportunities for people who are low income to be able to weather this crisis and actually come out of it, hopefully with being able to be employed and employable. We're not sure where those new resources are going to come from. So we're really collaborating on how we're going to do that, both not only looking to the federal government, but to also looking at our own network and other opportunities that we can take to really be able to grow the resources that are needed.
How could people who are in our viewing audience, if they wanted to be supportive, what can they do?
Well, I think that it's important to contact our elected officials and help them understand what's at stake and how it's affecting your community, to have a strong, reliable network of resources that you can turn to in times of need. And the fact that the decimation of that network or those resources would really be something that would actually set communities back further. And I think that every person can make their voices known to their elected officials about those concerns and really actually encourage members of Congress to be very careful and very thoughtful when it comes to balancing the budget with regard to people who are already struggling.
Let me ask a question that people will say, is he crazy? What could you do with more dollars?
Wow, with more dollars. You know what? I think that there, in all of our communities, there are unmet needs, and one of the things that we do every year is that we do a community assessment to sort of see what the needs are, what services are out there, what some of those gaps are. And I think that I would go out on a limb and say that all of our community action agencies would look to do a more thorough job in being able to address each of those gaps going forward so that our communities are stronger, going forward. I know that the years, I've only been in community action for 2.5 years, but the years that I've done my community action plan, I realize at the end of the process it's disheartening because there are needs that aren't being met, that there just aren't the services out there aren't the dollars to be able to address them. And so I think that we would see a lot of our communities getting stronger, that our families would be getting stronger because we'd be able to provide those services in ways that each of our communities identify as being the best fit for our communities.
When you say need assessment, how are you able to determine what's needed in your areas?
There's a lot of ways. Some of it is based on the families and individuals that come through our doors and that we serve in the hundreds of thousands every year that give us an indication of the need. Some of it is also looking at other types of studies and assessments that are done in our communities. There might be a health study, for example. There might be studies related to early childhood or Head Start that are out there already that we take advantage of, and we look at and review all of those data, both and as well as our own experience, and we say, you know, okay, given the resources we have, what is the most effective way to apply those resources? For example, when our board met locally this time to prepare our plan for 2012, and we laid out our proposals as staff around the needs that we saw, they had expressed some very strong concerns that we needed to give priority to basic needs services over other kinds of things that might be more, you might say, good to do if you had more money, versus the things that have to do with basic survival, food, clothing, shelter kinds of things. And so we had that discussion, and they had some very good points. For example, one of the programs that we provide is this, using staff from CSBG, is to help to fund to staff the child and adult care feeding program that feeds children over the summer food program. And although the dollars for the food and some money comes from the state and federal government, it's not adequate to really actually cover costs of actually administering that program. We looked at about a $20,000, $30,000 gap in saying we can't afford to administer that program based on the fact that CSBG dollars have to really go towards supporting that. And the board said, no, you need to prioritize that, because we cannot have a program serving kids, providing meals in the summer with families being out of work that does not operate. So you have to look at other areas and if you need to, and maybe not do something now. So if we had more money, those would be the kind of dilemmas we would have less of a challenge, because we would be able to provide both basic needs services and do things more like neighborhood and community garden type programs, and farmers markets, and things that really begin to help our residents figure out how to move up and out and solve their own problems, rather than just depending on direct assistance from government agencies. But that's the future,
Okie dokie. I see I'm getting that red light again. And for you and our viewing audience, we're glad you were able to visit, and we hope we said something that will help you in your day. This has been Mike Banks and Captions. Been fun, but I gotta run. Bye-bye.